Yo, what is up? It is your boy Zether back with part 2 to what if Naruto had absolute cancel. So you guys ended up smashing the like button on the first day, and on the last video I had previously said that I was going to upload this tomorrow, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and upload this today. But yeah, with that being said, let's get into the recap and get into the video. So on the last part we had basically gone over how Naruto basically trained to know how to use his eyes, how he has better chakra control, how he was trained by Kakashi for a year of his life, and also went over the Zabuza arc as well as the Bell test. So we basically left off with Team 7 heading back to Konoha. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So Team 7 would actually be heading back into the village, and once they're stepping in, like, Naruto would basically walk off on his own. Hinata would go back to her compound, and Sasuke would basically just kind of be walking near Naruto. Naruto would be walking, and then he would run into a corner where he would turn and see Kankuro picking up Konohamaru, saying, "How dare you bump into me, you brat!" And Naruto would immediately run over there. He would immediately body flicker there and then say, "I suggest you put down the third Hokage's grandson." After hearing that, Kankuro would basically be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," and Naruto would just say, "Save it. Just put the boy down and leave." This when Kankuro and Tamari would basically look at Naruto and say, "We're here for the Chunin exams. We can't exactly leave." Naruto would say, "Well, if you're here for the Chunin exams, at least you could at least be respectful of the village and its people." And this one Kankuro would say, "He bumped into me," and Naruto would say, "I didn't ask who bumped into who." Now after this, Naruto would basically take Konohamaru and go back to the third Hokage, report what had happened in the mission, and he would basically go home. About one day after this, the very next day actually, Kakashi would go up to Naruto as well as the rest of Team 7 and tell them that they're going to be taking part in the Chunin exams. Now Naruto would smile, thinking that this is going to be a walk in the park with his ability, and Kakashi would basically go in and tell Naruto that if he's thinking that it's going to be a walk in the park, he's going to be in for a world of pain. Now Kakashi would then basically just kind of like smile and then teleport away. And this is when Naruto would be like, So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that right after this, Naruto basically looks at his team and says, "So guys, are you guys as ready as I am for this test?" And Hinata would basically see like, "Yes, Naruto-kun," and Sasuke would be like, "You know I'm ready, dope." And Naruto would basically just smile and say, "I knew you would say that, Sasuke." This is when they would all go off, and before Hinata could actually go off, Naruto would go up to her and grab her by the hand and say, "Hey Hinata, I was wondering if you wanted to go get a bite to eat before everything gets all crazy." And Hinata would actually turn red in the face and begin to try to run away, but before she could, Naruto would basically get in front of her and say, "Hey, like, I'm sorry, like, I didn't mean to scare you." And Hinata would basically end up passing out. Now after this, Naruto would be like, "What's wrong with her?" He would then pick her up and take her back to her home, and as soon as he takes her to the Hugo compound, he sees Neji. Now when he sees Neji there, Neji would actually look at Naruto and be like, "Huh, hanging out with that talentless girl." Naruto wouldn't hear this at all, but would just take Hinata home, and Neji would actually bump into Naruto before he leaves. Now this one Neji would say, if you think that by hanging with her that'll make you any stronger, you're dead wrong. She's just gonna do nothing but push you, hold you back." After hearing this, Naruto would look straight at Neji and say, "Is that so?" flaring his red eyes as he disables Neji's chakra. Neji would get into a stance and would then proceed to fucking body Naruto. And now after having that done to him, Naruto would be like, "What the fuck?" As Neji's basically wailing on Naruto. Of course his attacks wouldn't be half as strong as they would be with chakra, but Neji cannot actually activate his Byakugan, but he's just whooping Naruto in terms of taijutsu prowess. And after the fight, Naruto basically goes home a little bit beaten and battered. Once he gets home, he basically realizes that for people who have amazing taijutsu skills such as Kakashi, Itachi, and if that kid is in the Chunin exams, he needs to get way stronger than he is now. Now this is when Naruto would actually decide that he's going to begin training on his body even harder than he had before, and decide that he's going to become so strong that even a god at taijutsu couldn't even handle him. Obviously not actually, but like somebody like Lee and Neji, something like that. That's what he means. So yeah, After this, Naruto would proceed to basically do a lot of calisthenics, work out, and try to find some different styles of taijutsu that he could implement into his battle. So the very next day comes around, and this is when Team 7 would actually be walking by. The genjutsu users would be pointed out by Sasuke. Sasuke would just be like, cut the genjutsu. And they would keep it up, and Naruto would look at them in their direction and cancel their chakra, and it would be taken off from everybody. Now once Team 7 walks into the actual room, before they walk into the room, Team Guy would basically glare at Team 7, and this is when Lee would walk up and say, Sasuke, I want to fight you. This is when Naruto would be like, Sasuke, don't engage. And Sasuke would just kind of smile in a cocky way and be like, alright. They would basically begin to fight, and Sasuke would get absolutely bodied. After seeing how the way that Rock Lee fights, Naruto would be absolutely astounded and would decide that he needs to work even harder to catch up to these talents. Now, not knowing Naruto that Lee actually is pretty talentless and that he worked hard for everything that he has, would think that Lee just had everything handed to him, and that's not the case. Naruto up the Sheen, this would basically pick up Sasuke, and they would go into the normal exam. The written exam would basically go with Naruto being a little smarter, being able to answer like 2 or 3 more questions. Basically find out that he has to cheats a little bit, get some afters off Hinata, and when it comes to leaving, Naruto just stays. There's no speech, there's nothing like that. This is when Anko would walk in and proceed to tell her, what's his name, Ibusu Sensei? I don't know, the guy, the proctor of the exam. And she would basically tell them all to sign the waiver for the, what is it called, the Forest of Death. Yeah, the Forest of Death. And this is when Naruto would basically just be like, alright. And Team 7 would sign the waiver, and Naruto actually wouldn't be talking the entire time the Anko's talking, so there would actually be no such thing as the little encounter with Anko or Orochimaru. So this means that Team 7 would basically just walk into the forest. Now when they're walking in, Naruto would basically proceed to tell the team that he got to go, use it real quick. He would go to a bush and just, get his business done. There's when suddenly a giant snake would come in to attack him. And Naruto, how do I put this? He gets freaked the fuck out. He jumps in the air and then sees the giant ass snake, and he's like, oh no. Now after he sees the snake, he would proceed to basically create a bunch of fucking clones and just start beating on the snake, throwing the hardest punches he can, using all sorts of jutsus. And let's just say that they used up quite a bit of his chakra. Actually, nah, let's say he used like 10% of it. Yeah, 10% of it. So afterwards, Naruto would basically be worried for his team, seeing that maybe they would have had to fight something like that. He would begin to rush back to his team, and this is when he runs back in and sees Orochimaru mid-combat with Sasuke. And Sasuke and Hinata would be trying to hold him off. At this point, Orochimaru wouldn't have shown his bloodlust or even shown any of his skill set. He would basically just be acting like a normal ninja. Now Naruto would jump in and immediately look at Orochimaru, disabling his chakra, as Orochimaru tries to use any of his jutsu, but it doesn't work. For some reason, he can't use anything. This is when Orochimaru would basically notice this and decide that he needs to find the reason that this is happening. As soon as he turns, he sees Naruto behind him, about to hit him with a kunai, and Orochimaru would dodge it with a split second left of time. And this is when Orochimaru would basically proceed to see that Naruto's eyes are glowing red. He would say, the Sharingan? Look closer and then say, no, what are these eyes? Now, these eyes, boys, I don't know how to put this, but I honestly don't know what to name them. Like, all jokes aside, I have no clue. I've seen a couple suggestions, but I don't know if that would be like the best thing. I think like a more simple, cool name, like just a one-word name, like the eyes of da-na-na-na-na, But yeah, like a cool little Japanese name. Any of you guys could suggest it down in the comments. There's still time. You could either put it on this part or in the first part. I'll be looking at both of the suggestions. But yeah. After this, Naruto would proceed to try to fight Orochimaru. And this is when Orochimaru would begin to actually start bodying Naruto. He would become bloodthirsty and say, those eyes, I want those eyes. Now as this is happening, Orochimaru would notice that he's way weaker than usual, but he would use his bloodlust as well as his will to push through and try to gain Naruto's eyes. Now as this is happening, Sasuke, Hinata, and Naruto would basically rush at Orochimaru, throwing every jutsu that they have and throwing all the stops in order to stop Orochimaru. In the split second that Orochimaru was about to take Naruto's eyes, Naruto would substitute with the log before his eyes could be taken. And Sasuke would whip out his one-tomo Sharingan, surprising Orochimaru, saying, "Wow, so you are a prodigy." But after seeing this, he would basically see that Naruto's eyes are going to be a little harder to obtain since he seems to be stronger than Sasuke. This is when Orochimaru would basically lunge in and try to bite on Sasuke's neck. But before he could, Hinata would actually gentle fish him right on the neck, breaking his neck and basically making Orochimaru have to retreat. No way, he wouldn't be able to do that because he has no chakra. Yeah, Orochimaru was not able to do that and just decided to retreat due to the unfavorable odds. Even though he is strong when it comes to taijutsu and could possibly take them out, he doesn't want to get found out, so he ends up retreating, thinking that he'll just get Sasuke later. So the test basically goes as usual. Naruto doesn't get taken out with the Nine Tails influence, Sasuke doesn't get bitten, and Hinata is able to go on. They would then just find a random Genin team, take their scrolls, and proceed to the tower. They would arrive about 5 minutes before Gaara's team, and they'd be decently roughed up since they had that encounter with Orochimaru. This is when Naruto would go up to Iruka Sensei and tell him about a strange man with white skin and purple paint on his face. And Iruka would report this to Hokage, who immediately sums it up to being Orochimaru. This is when the Hokage thinks about whether he should cancel the Chunin exams or not, but decides to ultimately keep it going. Now, this is when the rest of the teams would arrive. This meaning that there's no Lee encounter, no Team 7, no Team Ina Shikacho meeting, and yeah, like that's basically what ends up going down. So after this happens, let's say that all of the teams who made it in the original end up making it. Sasuke versus his opponent, and all of those matches go the same. Only thing that actually ends up changing is Naruto's reaction to Hinata, as well as the match against Akamaru. No wait, Akamaru. Akamaru's dog's name, person. Akamaru Koji. Akamaru. Oh my God, boys! I have to look this up. This is not Kiba. Oh yeah, Kiba. Okay, so Naruto's fight against Kiba. When the fight starts, Kiba immediately tries to go in for a fang over fang, but realizes that he can't do it. This is when Naruto would basically rush in there and basically began bombarding Kiba with physical attacks, knocking him out almost immediately. He would win that match, and when it comes to Hinata's match, as soon as Neji was about to deliver the final strike, Naruto would proceed to jump in there, canceling his chakra and catching his hand, saying, "Don't touch her." And Neji would begin to smile before he tries to go in for a hit. But this is when Kakashi, Guy, and the exam proctor would basically stop him. They would begin to tell Naruto that if he does that again, he's going to be disqualified, and tell Neji not to take it so far. That would basically conclude the ending, and they would have the 1 month break. During the 1 month break, Naruto would have actually been training by himself, and Kakashi would have actually decided to go train Sasuke. And Hinata would actually just not be training since she doesn't have to do it, but she would be resting and recovering. During this time, Naruto would have definitely been focusing more on his physical raw strength and been working himself to the brink, passing out almost every day, working for hours on end and trying to perfect his fighting style. But he would have only been able to go so far by himself. About 1 week in, this is when he would actually spot the legendary Toad Sage, Jiraiya, in the spring bath, when he basically decided to go there to just relax for a day. Now, he would bump into him, and this is when Jiraiya would basically tell Naruto that he's Jiraiya, the legendary Sannin, and Naruto would be like, "Never heard of you." Now, this is when Jiraiya would say, "Oh, I guess you're just not a man of culture," and Naruto would say, "Nobody's heard of you." This would basically make Jiraiya be a little saddened, admittedly, and he would basically go on to tell Naruto that he wants to train him for a little bit. And Naruto would be like, "I'm good, man. Like, I don't think you have anything to offer." This is when Jiraiya would tell Naruto that he really does, and would basically proceed to show off what he can do. This is when Naruto would be quite intrigued and would say, "Can you teach me those techniques?" And Jiraiya would basically proceed to teach Naruto what he did in canon. He would have no time to waste with the chakra controller, the Nine Tails, stuff like that. Instead, what Jiraiya would teach him would be the Toad summoning, as well as the Rasengan. He would also teach him how to use his taijutsu skills and take them to the next level and become a little bit more of a tactical fighter. This would change Naruto's perspective on how he fights a little more and give him more of an incentive to try harder. He would have mastered the Rasengan with one hand, because I hate that the fact that he has to make a clone. He would master one hand and would actually what's it called? Yeah, he would master with one hand. He would get the Toad summoning, and he would improve his taijutsu. That would be that. As for Sasuke, he would have what he got in the original. Kakashi would have actually decided to get stronger himself, since he noticed that training Naruto and seeing Naruto's progress, he would definitely decide that he also needs to become stronger, as well as training Sasuke and deciding that he has to train himself 2 times harder, meaning Kakashi would have gotten a little bit stronger, you know, just a little bit. It's not going to be to keep up with Naruto, because let's face it, as soon as Naruto cancels his chakra once time skip happens, it's GG. It's GG. Anyways, now Naruto would basically proceed to go to the Chunin exams, and this is when he would get ready for his fight against Neji. Now, as soon as the fight starts, Neji would proceed to tell Naruto that he's nothing but a failure and that's all he'll ever be, that destiny is absolute, that destiny can never be changed, and that destiny will never be overcome. And Naruto would proceed to tell him, blah, 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 you talk too much, let's get started. As soon as the match starts, Neji activates his Byakugan, but Naruto opens his eyes, revealing the red glow, and he would proceed to cancel all of Neji's chakra, meaning his Byakugan would be cancelled, and he would have he would have 0 chakra, so his attacks would be much weakened. He would be about as strong as he was in the lowest encounter. Now, Naruto would proceed to make 100 shadow clones that would fill up the entire arena and proceed to bombard Neji. Neji would definitely be overcome by this. And they would proceed to basically beat on Neji until Naruto comes in out of nowhere behind one of the clones and shoves a Rasengan into Neji's stomach, sending him flying into the wall and crashing, creating a large crater. And this is when Naruto would say, "That's for hurting Hinata." He would basically afterwards win the match, and this is when Sasuke would arrive, a little late admittedly, and he would basically take on Gaara. Now that fight would basically go to canon, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, and this is when Gaara would basically proceed to lose. Wait, no, not proceed to lose. He'd proceed to turn into Shukaku, and he would basically rush into the forest. Now, as soon as that happens, the Konoha Crush arc begins, and this is when everything would basically go to canon on the side of Hiruzen, the village's destruction and all of that. But in terms of Naruto facing against Shukaku, as soon as he sees that Gaara is transforming into him, he arrives right as Sasuke was about to get killed in Gaara's half-transformed Shukaku form. As soon as he sees this, he looks straight at Gaara, canceling the effects of Shukaku and turning him back into his normal self. This means Gaara would have no sand, no Shukaku, nothing to stop him from getting his ass beat, because something tells me that Gaara would be weak without his sand. So this is when Sasuke and Naruto would proceed to body on Gaara, and let's just say that Naruto would have done the same for Kankuro, Tamari, since Kankuro isn't really shit without his puppet, let's all be honest. So he would have taken him out quickly, and Shino would have actually taken out Tamari. Just gonna throw that out there. Okay, after that, Naruto would basically take out Gaara, and as soon as he does, he would tell Sasuke to tend to basically oversee Gaara, make sure that doesn't happen again. As Naruto begins to rush over to the village, as soon as he arrives, he sees a giant barrier surrounding the man that he had fought in the forest, as well as Hiruzen. As soon as he sees this, he barely arrives as Orochimaru is fighting back against Hiruzen, trying to rip his soul out, and Naruto would basically cancel the chakra of Orochimaru, making him a little more helpless, resulting in Hiruzen ripping out more than just his arms. Hiruzen basically would rip out his arms a lot easier than in canon, and this is when Orochimaru would break out barely, killing the third Hokage, and Naruto, he wouldn't kill the third Hokage. Naruto would jump in there, scratch that. Naruto would jump in there, cancel all of their chakras, and take down the barrier, resulting in Kakashi and Guy jumping into the fray. This means that Orochimaru would basically almost be saved, and Lord Third would actually end up dying due to using the Reaper Death Seal, regardless of whether he ended up actually going through with it. I think... No. The third Hokage ends up living. Let's just have the third Hokage live, because I really like him. The third Hokage lives, However, he still realizes that he's getting too old for this job and realizes he needs to appoint a new Hokage. After this, they basically have the cleanup, and there's no tragedy involving the Hokage, but there is minor deaths in the village. Now, after this happens, Jiraiya basically would go up to Naruto and tell him that if he wants, he would definitely take him to go and look for the legendary Sannin of Tsunade, the legendary loser. And Naruto would actually agree to this. And this is where I'm going to be ending the episode, boys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave 20 likes for the next part, which will basically be covering the Tsunade retrieval arc, as well as the Sasuke retrieval arc. Or will there even be a Sasuke retrieval arc? I don't know. Find out. But yeah, with nothing else to say, boys, Zether out.